Well, welcome everybody to the latest episode of Forever Bristol City podcast. We're recording this the morning after the night before. We're at Ashton Gate. It finished City 0, Sheffield Wednesday 0. Was it a bore fest? Certainly some of the fans were a little bit annoyed on the final whistle because the boos were echoing around Ashton Gate. We'll talk about the light show that we were treated to before the game later on. But in the meantime, I'm joined by regulars Mark and Ian. And as I always do at the start of every pod, which I think will be a little bit shorter this time because I'm a bit busy at work and I'm sure everybody's got other things to do. You first, Mark. How did you feel on the final whistle?
Well, it was Sheffield Wednesday 0. The other team's not going to score till a month next Thursday 0. Completely frustrated. Some tempo in the first half that promised goals in the second half, wearing them down. But we just completely fell off the pace in the second half. Our ball control was awful. Our creativity was awful. Lack of crossing, no shooting. Substitutions were awful. The only player that stood out for me, and Ian championed him, was Luke McNally. Really solid defence all round, really. Max had nothing to do, but against a team that conceded 9 goals in 3 away games previously to that, City made it easy for them. Wednesday defended well, but what did their keeper have to do? It's extremely concerning. We scored 9 goals in 8 games, and that's a big concern this season. Who's going to score a goal when nobody can shoot?
Fair enough. No, absolutely. Don't disagree with anything you said there. Ian, your feelings very briefly at the final whistle before we delve into the action, what little there was.
I'll echo Mark's, frustrated and disappointed. On the positive side, we're now unbeaten in 9 games at home. We kept our first clean sheet of the season, and there are 11 teams that are worse off because they're below us after only 8 games. Our home points take, and this is a real positive, is 2 per game, and that's 20% better than it was over the whole of last season. I thought I'll echo what Mark said. I spoke to Mark after the game, obviously, about this. I thought Luke McNally was very good yesterday, and he's one of the reasons I would revert to a back 3, and I think it's time for Liam to do it because our wide players aren't offering anything like enough value. I think, Luke, you had a decent first half, fell away a bit in the second, but the service to him was terrible. So the second half, we started poorly and seemed to get worse, and we allowed a team with a terrible away record away record over the 3 games
they'd lost 3 in a row. They'd lost all 3.
Yeah, well, their record was played 3, won none, drew none, lost 3, 4-1 against 9.
Yeah.
So that was their record before last night. So, and could I just say, before I forget to say it, fair play to every single one of those Sheffield Wednesday fans who travelled down to watch that, because if City were playing like that, I wouldn't be going up to Sheffield. I know I used to do it, but I wouldn't be going up to Sheffield on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting.
They made a lot of noise. They sang all through the game, didn't they?
Yeah, I took a friend to the game last night, and we were listening to Liam Manning's interview in the car coming home, and the one comment that he picked up on was that he was almost self-congratulating that we'd actually managed to avoided defeat. And, this is a 3-game undefeated run we've now entered into. And he said, but you're playing at home against a side that have the away record that both Ian and you, Mark, have described, which was pretty appalling. So, he seems satisfied. Well, I'm not. I don't think the fans are. Let's look at the team, Mark. There were, correct me if I'm wrong, a couple of changes. Hayden Roberts dropping out through injury, so that allowed Cam Pring to come back in. And then it was Max Bird, who was the unlucky one, left out. Were you sort of happy with the 11 when you saw it, Mark?
Yeah, it's much of a muchness. Really, Bird was dropped out because of his lack of influence, but the fact that he doesn't protect the defence, that's the problem. People, he loses the ball quite easily, and he can't tackle back. So that's why they stuck Joe Williams in there. The only downside is, and we could see this coming a mile off, and it didn't happen a lot. Surprised it didn't happen earlier. Joe's now accumulated 4 bookings, 1 away from a 1-match ban, and it looks at a virtual certainty with the way he plays. So much of a muchness. Armstrong starting first, leading the line with the 4-2-3-1. Mehmeti deserved his start because of his game against Swansea.
And when we look at the first half action, I mean, Mehmeti was pretty much involved in all of the main incidents. Ian, the first team sort of picks itself. If you look at the bench, I thought the bench was particularly strong. Welcome return for Ross McCrory. And if you look at that bench, Badgick, Bird, Earthy, McCrory, McGuane, Mayulu, Naismith, Sykes, Wells, they're all players that if they started, you'd say they wouldn't weaken the team. But Harry Cornick, the one who was left out there, wasn't he? Yes. So that's a sign of things to come. Maybe a move for him in January because, when Sam Bell's and Atkinson,
he was left
to get on the bench.
Well, he was left out of the match day squad at Swansea as well, and he played for the under-21s on Monday.
Right.
So, along with Rob Atkinson, who did 90 minutes, who also should come into the squad for the Cardiff game, and Ross McCrory, who did a pre-arranged 45. And, we won 5-0. Cornick didn't score. So, and I think it's a good idea to dip first team players in and out of that just to give them a little bit of match fitness.
Absolutely.
And I know there's no real comparison between under 21 football but at least it's a game of football. It's not a training session. So, I think our bench will only get stronger. I thought I agree with Mark. Manning's substitutions were really bad last night. And he doesn't always make bad substitutions. And I suppose it's like somebody said to me, all managers are the same. They get some substitutions spot on and they get some that are wrong. So, I mean, the number of times I've seen us do this thing about, if we win the next 2 games, we'll be there over the years. But unlike other years, when I've seen games like that, we didn't let in a sloppy goal and lose the damn thing. So, I'm not saying be thankful for that. Fally, for me, must start in whatever formation we concoct. He must start on Sunday against Cardiff. And I think if I was his agent, I'd be on the phone to Liam Manning to say, look, do you want my player or not? Because there was a lot, and I mean a lot of competition for Fally in the summer. A lot.
Yeah.
And I say, look, if you don't want him here, we're off.
He's obviously found a good barber whilst he's been in Bristol because he's shaved his head off.
Well, I could have done that haircut for, and I got to be honest. But fair play. I mean, look, it's a go faster haircut, isn't it? He's more streamlined now. But let's give the kid a game because, as Mark said, we scored 9 goals in 8 games, and 4 of those came in the first one.
Yeah,
so
you could say it's 9 goals in 10 actually, if you include the defeat against Coventry as well. If you're looking at goals.
Well, I don't worry about cup games, Dave, because managers make 7 or 8 changes in whatever. Yeah. And the other player I'd bring in is Elijah Morrison because I've now got to the point where I'm fed up with Anis. Now he's had enough chances, and when he cut in on his right foot and smashed the ball 10 yards high and 10 yards wide up the back of the south stand, I said, right, that's it. I just give up.
Yeah. No, look, Ian, I don't disagree with anything you said there. I mean, for me, it's the old thing of we've got lots of players. We've been collecting players because when Atkinson makes the first team squad, who's dropping out of that 9 that came in last night? Well, probably Naismith.
Yeah.
When Sam Bell's fit, goodness knows when that's going to be. Who's gonna drop out to replace him? Big question. That is a big question.
Well, it could be, on current form, it could be Anis, it could be Mark Sykes.
Well, yeah, but they're both getting minutes, Ian. And, and the big conundrum as well is that George Earthy isn't. And I could see him and Mayulu looking quite disconsolate figures on the touchline with 15 minutes to go. And how many subs did we do last night? It was 3. Let's do bloody 5. What did he have to lose by changing things a bit? Even bring Mayulu on for Hirakawa and hit it long. And that was something that somebody commented on Radio Bristol last night, that we were doing our usual tippy-tappy stuff, but we did play it long a few times to good effect. But that's just my view. And what do I know?
We didn't play it long. We kept playing it long and in the air to Naki.
Well, now, when he came on,
you bring him on against a 6'3", 6'4" pair of centre backs and put the ball in the air.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't blame Naki for not being able to get hold of the ball when it's 2 feet above his head and hold it up. But our passing, I thought it was Armstrong's worst game last night. He looked absolutely knackered when he came out for the second half.
But the thing is, the manager Ian is giving Naki Wells minutes ahead of Maulu, who offers something different.
Yes.
We know what Naki can do. He's giving him minutes, and again, I put this on X last night. Is he not shaping up well in training? Because that seems to be a criteria. We don't know how they look in training. So Wells is looking sharp. He's a fit bloke, but Maulu, something going wrong. Mark, what do you think about? What do you think about?
There's nothing, Dave, before you start that conspiracy theory. There's nothing wrong with Maulu.
Ian, it's just my view. It's not a conspiracy theory. Mark,
well, it is because you're making stuff up. That has he got a problem? He ain't got a problem. The kid wants to play football.
You don't know. It's just my view.
They're in, Dave. He's not injured. He ain't got a problem. He wants to play football. He came on against Swansea, but too late. So
too late. This is a bloke
paid. What you need to do?
£1.5 million.
Hang on. What you need to do is criticise the manager for not bringing him on. It was the wrong sub. It was a good time for him to come on and play up front. You could have last night. You could have brought Naki and Fally on and taken off Scott Twine, who was pretty anonymous in the second half.
But then, if you take Scott Twine off, surely that's the time to bring Earthy on. But you brought Bird on. Mark, what's your view on? Ian says I'm conspiracy theorising with my view of with Maulu.
No, it's not a view, Dave. You're saying, well, what's wrong? Is he injured? He's not injured. He's perfectly fine. He's just not getting picked.
But why isn't he playing him when he cost a lot of money?
The manager's not picking him, Dave. It's really simple.
Because he's not showing up well in training.
See, there you are. You made something up again. You've made something up again. He's not showing up well in training. How do you know that?
Well, because that is trumped out as a reason for players not being picked. If you go back,
I've never heard this.
Mark,
I've never heard that before, Dave. About Maulu.
You've heard it said that we as fans don't know how players are training during the week. Yeah, and that's why certain selections.
Yeah, I think it's going to be subjective. I think managers made a bad call. Now, I think Wells had a good impact substitute against tiring defences, but he can't play with his back to goal. He's just going to get knocked off. Now, we tried to play the ball down the side behind their two centre backs because they were playing with a back three. They hooked Palmer off at half time and put another guy on. So, but Wells needs players playing close to him to play give and goes, or he needs service. He didn't do either because there was nobody pushed up to play alongside him, and there was no service. But the biggest problem for City last night is when they did get in good areas, their control was awful. First half, Armstrong fell on his backside when he had a ball played back to goal. Second half, Wales miscontrolled the ball when we turned the ball over midway inside their half. Sykes did the same a couple of times. There was a wall pass from you to Wells, and he played it behind Arakawa when he was moving. So a lot of City couldn't trap a bag of cement. Their control was so poor. That was the other problem. And so I just think he made a really bad call, and I don't know why Maulu hasn't come on in both of those games, because we were doing the same thing, exactly the same thing, except with a player much smaller. Now, you try to do something different. Lee Johnson would stick Aidan Flint up front to try and get a goal. A big man with a bit of physicality, stick him in the area. Well, he needed to do something different, change the formation, take a risk, but it was just play the ball down the sides. And when we did, especially on the left-hand side, we didn't even get the ball in the penalty area because Campering ran the ball out 2 or 3 times. Hirakawa didn't cross. We were just playing the ball constantly backwards, forwards, and sideways. First half, at least we tried to play the ball into the area, get touches, play it between the full backs, but centre backs. But if you're Wells, you want the ball played through, even if you've got to run into a congested area, because you know that if a defender mistimes a tackle, you'll get a penalty. So why didn't they do it? They
I
just
don't know. We don't know that, and
thing.
that's why I say anything that we say, because we don't know, it's subjective.
Well,
Or it's
it's
conspiratorial
subjective.
or
I mean,
anything like
but
that.
what we're trying to find is we're trying to scrape the barrel and say, why isn't Mayudu playing? There's a possibility that Ian's showing up well in training, but I just think that Manning made a bad call. He thinks that Wells is a better finisher. Well, he may be, but he's got to get the ball first. Unless he gets good service, he's not going to shoot. And we only had about 3 shots in the second half, 2 shots on target in the whole game. One from Sykes at the end, and that tame header from the Messi.
Well, that was pretty much the big action points. I mean, look, what I would say,
it was awful, wasn't it?
Well, this allegation that I saw somebody make of collecting players again. If we bring players in, be they loan or whatever, they've got to be better than what we've got. Yeah. But where do you draw the line between getting in a loan player that is a squad player and getting in a loan player that is, better than what we got as a first team starter?
Well, City, David, City's game, because of the players that we got, a lot of them are slight. They're not the biggest team. We're not physical. So it relies on playing the ball at pace. Correct. Especially in the final third. And unless we do that, show some explosive pace, quick passing, quick touches, and players who can control the ball, we're going to be just drifting along. And if we don't score goals, we run the risk of losing a lot of games 1-0 and dropping down the table.
Absolutely. Well, the point I was making there is I see Mark McGuane, I see him as a squad player, right? Yeah, in an area where we've got strength. Mark McGuane, I see as a squad
Marcus
player.
McGuane.
George Earthy, I see as a player that should be a starter. And I think with Earthy, this is just me, my view, I don't know. I think we were almost, he was backup in case we didn't get Twine, and then we did. And mark my words, if he doesn't get minutes, and I don't know how many games there are between now and when he can go back, if he doesn't get minutes, West Ham are going to recall him because, why couldn't he come on for a token 10 minutes last night? Ian, why? Why is Earthy not getting even 10 minutes?
You need to ask Liam Manning, Dave, not me. I don't pick the team.
No, but that's what I mean. It's...
Or decide who the substitutes are.
Yeah.
If I would have given George Earthy 20 minutes instead of Scott Twine last night, I'd have brought on Fally Malulu instead of Naki, or I would have brought on Fally and Naki and taken off Armstrong and Twine. Now that's what I'd have done. But I'd start with 2 players up front in a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-1-2, however you want to do it against Cardiff, because we need more height and more power in the side. So the team I'd pick versus Cardiff.
Well, hang on. Let's mention.
And hang on, the point I'm making, and the team that Liam will pick will be entirely different.
All right, let's look at that because I think that's quite important. But again, we don't pick the team. I think we're in agreement that something needs to change a little bit. Let's get into the action. What there was of it, and Mehmeti's had his critics. Both of you have criticised Mehmeti. You've called for Eliasson and Morrison. Is it Morrison to come in wide on the left? And obviously, when fit, you got Rackett and Nelson, who's available as well. But if you look in the first half, I only caught up with the Sky highlights, but early on you had Viner to Mehmeti to Twine cross, only a defender struck Armstrong getting in a glancing header. Mehmeti cross, McNally took a swing at it, the ball went wide. Knight to Mehmeti cross. That I thought was a good chance when Viner stabbed the ball wide, and then Hirakawa to Williams cross, and Mehmeti with that header saved by Beadle. So 4 incidents that Sky showed in the first half. Ian, Mehmeti, you said we know what he's going to get. Is he's been in nearly 2 years now, hasn't he? So, you're saying that, that wasn't enough. And I thought he did all right at Swansea, to be honest. And I'm not a fan. So, this nearly man thing is, that's why you're taking that view that you should start a youngster. Parish had thought in Liam Manning's eyes, of course.
Well, no, I mean, it's not a matter of starting a youngster. I mean, if we got a bloke in the squad who's 13 can do a better job out there, play him. But we haven't. And we've got a very promising left winger, who also, in the absence of Roberts, who's got a hamstring injury, we don't know how serious yet, but in the absence of Roberts, he could play left back if anything happened to Cam Pring, because I wouldn't fancy Carl Naismith or Rob Atkinson playing left back.
No.
So that's another reason I'd bring him in. So Elijah, who's played for England, I think he's under 18s or under 19s. He actually played there. I think he played left wing back for him. So he can play left wing back. He can play left back. He can play left wing. He's left footed. He's very quick and he can cross the ball. Now, I think that's worth giving him a start because Anis isn't adding enough value, right? Our wide players don't add enough value. And this white modern thing of don't cross it, pull it back, doesn't work often enough for me. And our crossing, once again last night, was poor. So, and we still don't get enough players in the penalty area. So that's coaching, right? But if a player goes out, I mean, Mark Sykes was through last night, had a good chance, and his first touch knocks the ball 4 yards in front of him, and the defender gets in and kicks it out. So he's got to look at that, right? We've got a game coming up before the international break. It's not a must-win, nothing is, or mustn't lose, or whatever at this stage of the season. But we could do with 3 points to give us a bit of confidence going into the international break.
Okay.
So he needs to find a way.
Yeah. When you say it's not
to
a must
win that game.
Yeah. When you say it's not a must-win game, I wholeheartedly agree with you there. But it is a must-not-lose win because you start looking at points per game. It's game number 9. Yeah. You start looking at points per game, and even though it's madness to talk about extrapolations, people are doing that. I'm doing it. Mark, Ian said Mehmeti, he's calling for bringing Morrison in because of his versatility on that side. And again, picking up on social media, there's a general view now that the pathway is being blocked. I mean, I can't see him bringing in a player in a starting lineup that isn't even making the match day 20. Can you realistically?
No, I don't think it's likely. I think we perhaps need a change there because whenever he shows promise, he doesn't really deliver in the next game, and that's it. There's no real pressure on him because there's nobody who can play on that side really. I mean, I think you put Irakawa on there, in the second half, and when he took Mehmeti off, but really, I don't think. I mean, but I think he prefers to play you on the right hand side. So it's just shuffling the pack with the same squad really, and that is the problem. It needs something impactful. It needs something different. A change in formation, change into a 3 might mean that you need to be more disciplined when those outside centre backs work with their wing backs, but fans, especially the home fans, they want to see entertaining football. Now, in the other games, we were creating chances, we weren't scoring. Last night, we weren't creating chances at all. Now, when you do hit the ball, I mean, Mehmeti, he did hit some good crosses in, but you need midfielders arriving late on the ball. And last night, Zach Viner got onto a ball, wrong player in the right position, but that was a good cross. Because it's going to be hard beating defenders, 2 or 3 defenders in the 6-yard box. So you need somebody to get goal side and open that up. So it does 2 things. You can either make a late run and connect with the ball, or you draw a defender out with that run. So, but if you don't get enough players in the box, then it doesn't happen. But I think with big defenders, you need to hit the ball low and hard, because if a defender's facing his goal, you might even get an own goal. I mean, last night when there was a scramble, their keeper had to make a save from his own player. It was right at the base of the right post, if you remember, late in the first half. So there's no excitement. There's no intelligence. Nothing. City were just doing the same thing, repeating the same mistakes. First half, they looked like they were showing some tempo, knocking on the door, playing
another poor second half performance, because as the game went on, and look, Danny Roll would have been 100% happy with getting a point, their first point on the road. But as the game went on, there was a sort of element of boldness coming into their play. They threw one of their big players up front, Ugbo, who we were sort of salivating over earlier this year. I thought he was pretty ineffectual, to be honest. But Ian, what did you think of our nemesis last night, Barry Bannon, playing for them? You know, I thought he did. He's an orchestrator, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think in a better team than Sheffield Wednesday, he'd be a far more dangerous player. But I didn't think much of him last night. Ugbo, I think did he get a hat trick against us last season when they smashed us to pieces up at Sheffield?
Got two, yeah, got two.
Yeah, up at Sheffield Wednesday. That's right, we lost the game 2-1. Knight scored with that header.
Yeah.
No, he was completely anonymous last night, and that was because of the performances of Zach Viner and McNally. So,
and that's a good point you make there, Ian, because I was going to say Viner played well, I thought, and McNally, I think you've already said, or one of you has already said, McNally looked more composed, and I was slagging him off at the weekend, saying, "Oh, 4-year contract," yeah, but they look composed. But that's given.
Since he's come in, I think he's
happy for a point.
I think he's made since he's come in. I think one player is the Swansea guy. I think it was on Saturday. Turned him inside out on the edge of the penalty area, but that's happened to other players. I mean, people forget Rob Dickie was playing for us when we let in 3 against Millwall.
Yeah.
So it's we just need to. I look at him as a really good signing. As I say, I played the way I look at the game and the way Liam is looking at it is quite different. I mean, I like the possession thing. I when it's going forward, but when it doesn't work, it becomes a bit tedious and very predictable. And last night, I thought we were very predictable in how we played, particularly in the second half. And the quality just went out the window in the end, and we were just booting it forward. And that's just not going to work. So, and it's not going to work consistently, and it's not going to work with a bloke my size leading the attack.
No,
it's just not. I mean, so you've got we need to come up with a way in which we're going to look more dangerous and score more goals, because I don't think first half we were good, we were decent, but I don't think we looked like we were full of goals at any point in the game.
No.
So it was another one of those where we were, okay, could we have won it? Should we have won it? Yeah, but we didn't win it, and we can't keep saying.
Right. And that's the thing, and that's why out of the 8 we've only lost 2. Yeah. But so we've been undefeated in 6 of those 8 games, and that's the futility of getting draws, because it would have been far better to have a 5-0-3.
Well, yeah, but you can say that all right, we'd have been better off winning 4 and losing 4, but losing games, A, it gives 3 points to the other team, and B, I don't think it's good for confidence. No. So if let's say we won all our own games but lost all the away games, would we have been better off? Well, we'd have been better off points wise. But would we have been better off from a point of view of thinking we can go out and win the next game? Probably not.
No, but if you look at the really bad performances, which were the Derby second half and Blackburn, the rest of the time, we should have won at Hull if we hadn't conceded very late on. Yeah,
but we could have been 2-0 down after 15 minutes at Hull.
Yeah, could have, would have, should have. You say could have, would have, should have.
That's football, but. If you look at last season, Dave, we averaged 1.61 points a game at home over the season. We're currently averaging 2, so that's progress. Away from home last season, all we averaged was just over a point, 1.09. That was away from home. So we've got to. You're dead right. We've got to improve our away form. And we've got to start creating more and taking more chances. Because if you're not taking your chances, or you're not taking all of them, I mean, Blackburn had 3 shots on target against us, scored 3 goals. So if you're not doing that, you can you need to create more chances, so that even if your ratios are only taking.
What you're saying, we're scoring 1 in 5 chances. So in reality, we've got to create 10 chances to increase our chance of doing that.
Exactly that. Yeah,
that's a big
better put than I did.
talk about creating big chances. Everybody is slagging off, well, not everybody, but there's a certain segment of the fan base that are starting to question Scott Twine's contribution. But he still sat there with 9 major goal assists at the top of the charts in the Championship, Mark. What do you say about that?
Well, I think they expect to see him imposing himself on the game a bit more, as well as playing with his link-up play. I think they need to see him making runs into the area. Now, he did that as an impact sub against Millwall and made a real difference, but we haven't really seen that in the games where he started. He needs a bit of service. He needs those balls in the right places. He needs give and goes, but it's not like he's given his all to do that. That's the problem. He sits a little bit off, and I think that's why people are questioning him. With the money that we spent on him, people are expecting a little bit more. I want them to see him take some shots, rather than just pass the ball to others. Just take an early shot.
Where the keeper's be nice if somebody did, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Because nobody's shooting at all, are they? Nobody's taking a shot. I mean, you see some spectacular goals in the Championship. You don't see any shooting from us at all. We look like last night, and we look in a lot of games, we're trying to walk the ball in the net. I think the only decent shot we've had this season is the one from Mayulu when it came from the whole defender's assist when he sliced it behind him.
Well, George Tanner
instinctively on the turn. And a
George
George Tanner goal, yeah. But our forwards, their shooting's been awful. Armstrong can shoot; he gets it on target, but in one-on-ones, he tends to hit it low, and the keeper's not really troubled. But I think this season, last night was dull. In most of the home games this season, we've actually made lots of chances that we haven't taken. It's our final pass and our creativity in the final third of the pitch. We're doing a lot better in transition, not in the second half last night, in the first half, but it's packing the area, making the right pass in the final third, crossing the ball, ballooning it over players. Don't need to do that. You just need to hit the ball low and hard, get players into the area. If it's a defender or a midfielder making a late run, I want to see somebody bust a gap to get on the end of a ball. And if they get a clip from a defender, they'll get a penalty.
Yeah.
If they get a blocked shot whilst the defence are recovering, they could get the second ball, because it's going to be hard for a defence to reset and when they're reacting. But do something different. It's all very safe and very dull, and we're just feeding the myth, the story that Manning plays dull football, textbook stuff, and there's nothing about it, and that's it. We're going.
I don't think it's unfair to say in the same way that what was it, Steve Davis was Steve Boring Davis. I think we can call him Liam Boring Manning. Yeah?
Well, the thing is he's just a bit of an introvert, a textbook coach. We expect our football managers to be like politicians. We want managers with charisma who can come up with a quip like Brian Clough. But let's face it, you talk about football matches, most of it is banal crap, because it's 95 minutes of boredom peppered with about 5 minutes of excitement. And we go and watch that week in, week out, and that's what it is. And managers have got to find some magic in all that rubbish.
I know.
Why should we expect our managers to be charismatic?
No, well, they know.
It doesn't mean they're any better, does it?
Yeah, I mean, they all know that they're only 3 defeats in a row away from having a crisis and possibly facing the sack. All right, let's.
You could say that. That's easy to say, isn't it?
Before we look forward to Cardiff and beyond, you were there last night, Ian. The light show. I mean, they talk on TV. If you're watching the news, sometimes they say, "Be careful, there's flashing lights." Yeah, I just wonder whether I don't see the point, and I'm not an epileptic, thank goodness, and I pity the people that are. That was meaningless. It wasn't even colourful. It looked like somebody was in the back of the stand flicking the switches up and down. What did you think of it, the light show?
Not much. Couldn't care less.
But it's all part of building the atmosphere, wasn't it? The hyping,
Well,
did you?
what builds the atmosphere is performance. There's nothing wrong with the atmosphere at the end of the game against Millwall,
No.
or the end of the game against Oxford. So it's all about what happens on the field. I've always said that. All this stuff about all the fans this, the fans that, right? The fans can't play the game. They'd love to, but they ain't good enough and they won't get a chance.
No.
As for a light show, for me, you can shove it. I couldn't care less.
No.
But
Well, I mean,
that's probably my generation. You need to speak to some younger blokes and say, well, what do you think about it? Or the kids or whoever they're aiming it at.
Right. Well, talking about kids and what have you. No, you're not a kid, although I think you're the youngest of the three of us, Mark. What did you think of the light show? And
I thought it was an embarrassment.
If you ask somebody, sorry, Mark, if you ask somebody who's got an epileptic condition
or migraines
or whatever, I don't. As Ian said, don't see the point. I'd much sooner see the flames that come out of the boxes if they're trying to do something.
Yeah. Well, it was. I mean, I saw somebody with their head bowed, and obviously, flashing lights were going to give them a headache or start something off. They should have given them a warning, really, because that's just common sense. But it was quite embarrassing. I mean, the flames, opera music, something like that. But I mean, why, oh why? What was it going to do? I mean, I remember going to the discos with flashing bulbs better than that in the 1980s.
Yeah. I have to say, this new set of lights really is no better than the bloody 4 gantries that we used to have before or back in the 70s, which ended up going up to Springfield Park, Wigan's ground. If I
can remember I can remember Springfield Park. It looked like a poorer man's version of Eastville because it had those shallow, semicircular terraces.
Yeah.
But I think the worst away trip in the old days was going to Saltergate because I think the spiders were vicious in the toilets, and they had a mascot about 20 years ago called Chester the Field Mouse, who looked like an oversized rat who must have scared the shit out of kids if they woke up. But no, Wigan had something that looked like a Bertie Bassett on steroids who had some problem with his DNA. I mean,
oh dear.
I mean, where did they get these ideas? I remember.
I don't know. This is sounding like,
didn't they?
This is sounding more like an old Saint and Greavesy show.
Oh yeah,
chortling away in the background like that. Okay, let's look forward to. Let's look forward to Saturday. And Ian, you're advocating.
I'm doing some shopping, Dave. What are you doing Sunday at the game?
Christ, keep saying it. So used to it. I know. I'm coming back from Brighton on Sunday morning just to make sure I'm there. Yeah. Brighton sort of is holding a bit more appeal. Anyway, looking forward to Cardiff, Ian. You advocate, and I wholly agree with you. Maybe trying a 3, but we're not the manager. That's down to that's down to him. Do you anticipate any changes in the starting lineup on Saturday that are Manning safe changes? Not we'd like it to happen, but do you think he could change it a bit?
I think Fally will start. You might see Sykes start instead of you if he sticks with this formation. Bird may come in midfield.
In place of who?
Possibly Joe, because Joe's on 4 yellows. It's a local derby, so go figure.
Yeah.
Although Liam Manning will probably want to play Joe in a game like that and just take the chance. You mentioned Marcus McGuane earlier on. What you have a squad to allow for injuries, but it might be time for him to get some minutes as well. And I'm frustrated at not seeing more of George Earthy when he's been available. Obviously, if he's injured, he couldn't play. And Marcus McGuane. And I'd like to see them, but we will see them because, I mean, as Mark said earlier on, I mean, we did a sweepstake in the game about what minute will Williams in the coffee shop before the game. What minute will Williams get his yellow card?
48 last night, wasn't it?
Well, that was a lot later than most of us said. I mean, my guess was 12. So, it's something he's got to. So people will say, well, if you take that out of his game, but he's not getting booked for crunching tackles. He's getting booked for pulling people's shirts. and
which
dragging
is
them
what
back.
I did last night to stop them running through the midfield like sides have done against us.
Well, Joe will help more with that, and it comes back to what I was saying about the Swansea game. If you look at the players in that team last night, defensively, apart from the back four and Joe Williams, it looks really lightweight.
Yeah.
And you know that you've got use, but if you look at the metrics from last night's game, every element of competition we were better at than them. One more aerial duels, one more tackles, more interceptions. Our passing was better. All the metrics say the truth, which is what we were the better team. But what we're not doing at the moment is turning that, I'll call it domination. It isn't always, but turning that domination into goals. Now, when we start doing that, all will be well with the world.
We might start shooting.
I think he needs,
at the table.
I mean, if he goes 4-2-3-1 again on Saturday, Sunday, I'll be disappointed, but not surprised. And it's not, just to confirm, it's not what I would do. So I'm disagreeing with the teams he's picking.
All right, fair enough. Mark, do you think do you think there'll be any changes? And I'll ask you this question, and Ian can reply when you've had your say. Do you think he'll make any changes, Mark? And do you think, I couldn't believe it when he trumped this out last night, he said Sheffield had an extra day of recovery because they played on a day earlier than us over the weekend. Yeah. So do you think there'll be any changes? And was that a fair comment to make by Liam Manning? Because I don't think it stacks up. Because on Sunday, I don't want to hear that again because Cardiff played the night before us, so they've had an extra day before Sunday to recover compared to us.
Yeah, but it's trotted out when you don't get the result you want. It's an easy thing to say. He wouldn't have mentioned that if we'd have won the game. It's it's like the last words of a drowning man, isn't it?
He ain't drowning.
Well, not drowning, but dropping above the surface. Yeah. But I mean, I think there will be changes. I mean, I like to see us. I think we're wedded to the 4-2-3-1, unfortunately, and I don't think it works. It works at the moment. I mean, we really need somebody aggressive in that too, who's not on 4 yellow cards. So throw a curveball, maybe play Cal Naismith there, or even Ross McCrory with his tackling ability, and he will be direct. He can go forward as well,
and to keep
and they protect the defence. I think it'll be our ability to turn over the ball in their half, because it will be key on Saturday, because they're going to play deep. They would have looked at the Sheffield Wednesday game, and they're a team who's got 1 point, I think, this season. I don't think they've got any more than that, have they? So did they get a result on Tuesday?
No, they beat Millwall 1-0 at the weekend, Mark.
Oh, did they? Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I mean, they're a team. They're a team near the bottom of the league. They'll probably play deep. But if we can, we need to be aggressive in the middle of the pitch, and you can't do that with Joe Williams. So I pick Cal Naismith or even Ross McCrory in there, alongside Jason Knight,
or even Mark McGuane.
Yeah, well, even Marcus McGuane. The thing is, if Taylor Garner-Hickman has still been here, and to settle it, people say, "Oh, why was Taylor Garner-Hickman allowed to leave?" He wanted more. He wanted to start games, and Liam said, "Well, I can't guarantee you that." So when the offer came up, he took it with Birmingham. In his home town.
They're doing well.
He seems to, but that's
my take on the team, and I want Ian to. I'll get Ian to
I don't think the thing is Marcus McGuane. I don't know why he's not even getting minutes at the moment. Ian said, he's likely to, but if Taylor Garner-Hickman has still been here, I would have expected him to get minutes.
Yeah,
so,
fair comment. Liam showed no hesitation switching you across to the left-hand side, which he could start you on the left, who wasn't very impressive in the second half, but then none of the team were, and he could play Earthy in the starting lineup in a wide right role, which is the only position he played him in when he came on against Millwall, in that wide right, akin to how Josh Brownhill used to play for us. Then you get the benefits of a very talented footballer and somebody that can sort out help out in midfield. Ian, just before we come on to the final point, because I say I want to wrap things up a little bit quick today. Ian, this business about the extra days recovery, I mean, that's I don't think it didn't need to say that, did he? Yeah, because I don't think it's relevant.
I haven't listened to the interview, but I'd never use that as an excuse. I mean, I've heard he's not the first manager I've heard use it, by the way. And I've heard some really top managers use it. Klopp, Guardiola, talking about teams having an extra day's recovery time. So it's not the first time I've heard the excuse. If he'd have won the game, I mean, we could easily have won it, but if we'd have won the game, I don't think he'd have mentioned it. As for the game against Cardiff, it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse when you've got a strong squad. And you mentioned earlier on how strong you felt the bench was. So if you say, well, I played so-and-so, but he was a bit tired, well, play somebody else that didn't play. So you could have started, instead of Twine and Armstrong, you could have started Mayulu and Earthy.
Yeah.
Right?
And giving Earthy just 45 minutes, or...
Well, it's not a question of giving him this long or giving him that long. If he's on and he's playing well and he's tearing the arse out the opposition, leave him on.
Yeah.
But that needs to but that is when you've got a squad. So if a midfield player's tired, say Joe's a bit tired, or Jason Knight's a bit. I mean, Jason Knight don't seem to get tired for me. I've never seen him look tired. But bring Marcus McGuane in.
Yeah, why not?
So
no, I agree.
You've got a strong squad, right? We know we've got some problems still with injuries, but touch wood, it's not as bad as it has been. Although all the injuries, I say 80% of our injuries are hamstring injuries. Again, so we and it's all right saying Fally needs to score more. But he ain't going to score if he's sat on the bench getting splinters in his backside. And he scored 2 really good goals this season. One right foot, one left foot. Cracking finishes.
Right,
Give the kid a go.
I'm just going to say the other thing that Ian picked up last night that we haven't mentioned, Ian, was that Sunday's goal was from a near post corner. We were playing a ball to the far post last night. Now, if Jason Knight was smaller than Luke McNally, but if that was our strength, and that's how we scored the equaliser. We didn't even try it last night. We were just playing the ball long all the time. Why didn't we play near post corners? When Twine, I mean, he's like a 1 in 5 corner taker at the moment. I mean, last season his corners look a lot better, but that was a perfect one on the money, corner of the 6-yard box, and you got Knight running onto it, just on the money. But last night, awful corners to the back post. Why make it easy for the defenders? The ball was either sailing over the top, so the Iwakawa or Mehmeti are having to collect the ball and then play it back to the defenders and recycle more in the recycle centre, and then it was dead. But say that ball near post, you could get a flick on, something could happen, but we just didn't do it.
No, we didn't do that. Okay. Look, it's match day 9 this weekend against Cardiff. You said, I saw you post it on the Twitter or X, Ian, yesterday. You said a massive 8 points from the 5 games. So we got one of them yesterday against Wednesday. So that needs us leading another 7 from the 4 games. And when I was I was on Sound of the City on Monday, I forgot the fact that after Cardiff, we've got Middlesbrough away. I forgot about the fact that we've got Stoke away as well, who thumped Pompey 6-1 last night.
Yeah, and Tom Cannon 4.
Sorry,
Tom Cannon got 4, didn't he?
Did he? I don't know who he is, but it's not a must win on Saturday. But goodness me, and
it's a Sunday.
Sunday, Christ! Why do I keep saying that? Ian, Sunday. Right, we really need 3 points because the sequence of games after that, Borough, Stoke away, Leeds at home. If we don't get 3 points, that's indicative of our form being a bit questionable, and it's not a good boost to go into those 3 games. But I'm guessing when you did that what was it, 8 points in those games. You were expecting 3 last night, weren't you?
Not necessarily. It was the massive bit was said quite tongue in cheek. You mentioned the 4 games we've got coming up. I would now say if we could get 2 wins and 2 draws from those, I'd be delighted.
I think everybody
one of them's Leeds away, isn't it?
No, Leeds at home.
Leeds at home.
Leeds at home. Yeah, I mean, I know. I think Leeds they had a little bit of a slow start, but they've started to improve. They've lost their captain Nathan Ampadu. He's got a bad injury. He'll be out till Christmas apparently. So it would be the most City thing in the world to do is draw with Cardiff and beat Leeds. But probably the most Liam Manning thing to do as well. I'd probably look at that now and say, well, we got 4 games. If we could get 8 points out of those, 2 wins and 2 draws, I'd be delighted. Average 2 points a game. So that's what we've got to try and go for. I mean, Stoke won last night. They had a really good win, scored some really good goals. Pompey's defending wasn't what I call world class. But that was Stoke's. Stoke are now on their 6th manager in 6 seasons. And I think am I right in saying that that's the first one they've won in a while? Stoke?
No, I thought they won another game because I saw them. They were below us in the table, still are, I think, maybe. So they've not had the best of starts. All right, so you're trying. I mean, fantastic if we can get 2 wins and 2 draws out of the next 4.
Well, the problem is
there's no reason why we can.
No, there's no reason why we can't. There is no reason why we can't.
It's the goals, Dave. We actually got 6 goals in the first 3 games. So we scored 3 goals in the next 5. That's the problem, isn't it? It's the goals.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right there. And as I said to Ian when he made that prediction, from the first 12 games, it would give us 17 points from 12 games, which is 1 point less than at the same stage last season. Not exactly progress, is it? Equates to 65 points across the season, which is that 11th. You could, with 65 points, you could finish anywhere from, I'll say, 8th down to about 13th, and that is us. We just got to accept that. Well, have we got to accept it? I mean,
we look like a team in transition again because of the raw talent that we got. So we got lots of promising young players, but they're not the finished article, and that's what it looks like right now. I mean, in terms of predictions, when those Coleman Boards books, somebody said, "I don't make predictions. I never have, and I never will."
Mm. Yeah, we say promising young players, Mark. I sort of disagree with that to a point because you've got Max. If you look at the starting lineup, Max, George Tanner, Viner, McNally, Pring. I don't call them youngsters. Williams and Knight certainly aren't. Twine isn't. Mehmeti isn't. Hirakawa, maybe.
Well, they're all in their early 20s, aren't they? Yeah. Well, those players. We've got Twine with a 3 million plus price on his head. We think we should be getting more value, but a lot of those were bought cheaply because we had to. We have to shop cheaply for young talent. We've got to mould that, and we won't see the real benefits of that, I don't think, till next season. But we want to see.
What you're saying now, Mark, is that
that's the risk you take, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's forget this season. Then 8 games in.
No, I don't want to forget this season. Who wants to forget this season? We're paying. I mean, I'm paying £565 for a season ticket. Some people are paying more and they're paying less. They want to be entertained. Right now, they're not, and that's the problem.
I mean,
we've been starting with success, haven't we?
Yeah, let's call it a day on this one. We will be back on Sunday.
Are you sure, David?
It will be Sunday, and we'll record our match review at 8 o'clock on Sunday evening. That'll give Ian time to get home after the game. We haven't talked about the booing on the final whistle. I was out on the concourse heading back to my car. And the one thing that Liam said that I do agree with him on, when he was talking, he was asked about the booing, and he said, "It's how the world is." and
Well,
he's
it
not
is.
wrong in that respect.
Yeah,
But there we go.
It is, but I hate it. I hate booing. What's the point?
All right, everybody. Ian and Mark, thanks for your comments. As usual, everybody who's joined the text feed on the screen there, thanks for all your input as well. Everybody who's watching while they're at home or at work, who's been watching it on YouTube, thanks for your support on that. As I say, we'll be back on Sunday at 8. In the meantime, everybody, have a great week.